Hey guys, what's going on? We're the Screen Team. I'm being joined by Tonica. And Tonica, it's been a while since we've seen you.
Yes, I forgot to count for a moment.
Where have you been? Where have you been, Tonica?
Around.
Tonica's been around.
Not really around, but I mean, trips to St. Louis and everything, so it's just been.
Tonica's been very, very busy.
Yes,
and we want to talk about a movie that I'm not a fan of. I'm hoping she can change my mind. I'm hoping she can convince me that this movie is worth a rewatch, because to me, it's not. It's terrible. I do not like this movie, Tonica. But all right, what's the movie? What movie are we talking about?
We're talking about M.A.S.H.
M.A.S.H, the classic. The classic M.A.S.H. I believe this movie has been highly touted by critics. I believe this film was even, I think it might have been in the original AFI Top 100 Films of All Time.
Yes.
And no.
Even the Library of Congress now has it as one of their
Everybody's wrong. Everybody's wrong. Congress is wrong. AFI is wrong. Anybody who likes this film is wrong.
But you have to look at the history. You don't have to look at how it was made or whatever. You don't have to look at the substance of it. You have to look at everything else behind it, of how this movie came about.
Well, how did this movie come about?
Okay. Back when they had the old Hollywood and everything, they had a lot of the older executives, and they're the ones that ran everything, the morality rules and everything.
Okay.
So as they retired and new people came in, they were getting more lax with the morality code, and it was an actual code that to make movies or to have these movies, you had to hit certain guidelines. Well, this movie was made like right after the code was over. So Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke was
right?
Cool Hand Luke was the awesome part of that code, destruction. But this movie, it's like they did everything possible, and they won an Oscar for the screenplay. Mm-hmm. But there was really no screenplay, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, because they just decided, oh, well, we're going to film today. What all do we want to do today that would tick people off? And it was a political thing, everything you can imagine. And it boosted some careers. Mm-hmm.
Many careers. Donald Sutherland, Elliot Gould, Tom Skerritt was in this. Sally Kellerman, Robert Duvall was in this movie, for crying out loud.
Right. So, I don't know. It's a dark comedy. I think it has a place in the movie history because so many of the movies that we have now that are the political movies, because, this was, it was set for Korea, but it was right when Vietnam came.
Sure.
So there were so many things that were against what was going on in Vietnam. And I think that's why there's a lot of people that were in Vietnam that just hated the movie. But then there was other people that was, on the other side that just, that's why they embraced the movie. Right. So it was a political movie. I don't care what they say, it wasn't or whatever, but you go back and you look at the archives of interviews and everything, it was a political movie. So
one of the two things that really hit me with this movie, that I guess it's supposed to be a comedy, or a dark comedy, as you say, and I had a hard time finding the funny parts. Even when I knew something was a funny part, I was still kind of like, it didn't.
Right.
And to be totally
honest,
because
of our standards now of what we're used to.
True. And to be totally honest, I feel the same way about the TV show. Even though it's considered one of the greatest, or the greatest show of all time, I've watched that, and it has the laugh track when you're supposed to laugh, and I'm like,
yeah,
and it's just M.A.S.H just goes over my head.
But I think it's a certain generation, and since I was really close to my grandparents, I think that's why I picked up on the humor. I think that's why I enjoy it so much, because I could see things through their eyes.
Sure.
Also, you realize did you see the version of where it had the F word in it? Where they actually said the F word, and then Margaret Houlihan, when they did the tent scene where they brought it up and she was naked. Mm-hmm. Okay, as far as I know, they have not released that in video. They might have in the past, like 5 years or whatever.
Okay.
But they still haven't released that on video. They always release like the PG-13 one instead of the
like
R-rated. Yeah, because it's really R-rated. When you see that, and I saw it on HBO because they had the uncut, and so you see a lot
Hooray
more.
for HBO.
So, yeah.
So keep that in mind if you want to dive into M.A.S.H. There are some adult situations in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Another thing that I'm just not a fan of Robert Altman, the director. We did a review of the movie Nashville, and I wasn't a fan of that.
Oh, yes.
I don't like his dialogue. It's very open ended. There's no point A to point B. It's point A, point B, and hey, somebody over here in point C is talking, and that's kind of mixing into our conversation of point A and point B, and you're like, who am I supposed to be listening to? What's the focus? What am I supposed to be focusing my attention on?
He does go crazy with subplots.
I can't get into Altman. I just can't.
Yeah. I understand why you don't like it. I mean,
Okay.
I like it for the aspect of the history of it and everything, but it's not something that I'm going to watch all the time,
Sure.
But I think it has a spot because we wouldn't have the movies that we have now.
Okay.
If it wasn't for them doing this.
So you're saying it's kind of a pioneer.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was a pioneer for the time.
And what you're saying to me is I should relax more and give it a.
No, I'm not really saying that,
Okay.
but
So I can
definitely say you don't like it.
I can bring down the wrath, folks. I'm bringing
Right.
down the gauntlet.
Right, because there's aspects I cannot stand about the movie,
Okay.
the whole political thing. But there are aspects that I think are funny and everything. And I think in our messaging, I was mentioning those, and you're like, I didn't get it. I
Yeah.
didn't get it. And I'm like, oh, I thought
true.
it was hilarious.
It's true. I didn't get it.
Maybe it's because I worked at Girl Scout camp, and we kind of lived through some of that. I don't know.
I should have went to Girl Scout camp. All right. She's Tonica. I'm Chris. The movie is M.A.S.H. It's definitely got its historical relevance to it. I don't know if my generation or maybe even generations, I don't know if the millennials are going to like this movie
Right.
or not. So, take that into account, all right? Movie is called M.A.S.H. You can find it on DVD. We've got more reviews coming your way right here on the Screen Team.